The call to Napa police came within an hour after the stabbings. A young man's voice reported the double murder. He described the couple, their car, the scene, and hung up. Police believe it was the suspect. The call was similar to one received by Vallejo police after the shooting of a young Lover's Lane couple there earlier. There have been 3 slayings in the Vallejo area in the past year, and activities at the sheriff's office today were centered around linking the cases.
We have, of course, and have had in our department their reports since their incidents, and being so close to their area and feeling that it might come over in our area, we of course have been working very closely with Vallejo in checking state hospital patients and former patients, because this guy is a pathological psycho killer. There's no doubt about it.
Police and park rangers combed the scene for clues until late yesterday. It was here the couple was picnicking, and here a man in a mask robbed, tied, and stabbed them, leaving them for dead. He got 83 cents. But police say robbery wasn't the motive. He is probably a psychopath. The 22-year-old girl from Southern California, the boy 20 from Oregon, were taken out by ambulance. Access around the lake was roadblocked for 18 hours. Sergeant Bill White was first on the scene.
The guy told him to take the money. He said, "I don't want it." Says, all I want to do is kill you people. I have to kill you. The boy asked him, said, "You really mean that?" And he said, "Yes, I mean it." Says, well, he said, "If you're going to kill me first, because I can't stand to see the girl be stabbed." He said, "Well, I'll do that." So he started stabbing the kid in the back. He told me 10, 12 times, but he had so much blood on him I couldn't tell. I knew he was stabbed several times. And then he stabbed the girl. So,
The boy was conscious enough to give you a description of the man?
Oh, yes, they'd go out and come back, and it was taking some 35 minutes for the ambulance to get from Napa up here, which is 25 miles away from this place. And so they did a lot of talking. The boy thought he wasn't gonna make it. He wanted to give a description to the guy best he could, about the best he could give us. That he had a hood over his face, and he was a big guy, 6 foot or better, over 200 pounds.
What was your reaction when you saw them?
Well, I've been patrolling this lake now 11 years, and I've seen a lot of people that's been cut up by boats and this and that, and for no reason at all. That's about the worst I've ever seen. The kids just chopped up, real nice college kids, just stabbed for no reason at all. I never witnessed anything like it before.
There is, as far as I'm concerned, a definite pattern between their killings and ours, and the message left on the side of the victim's door with the dates of the Solano County murders and ours, along with other items that are on there, have definitely indicated to us that they're one and the same. Oh, I feel he definitely does. I'm sure that he realizes that he needs help, medical help, and for me to say that he's going to make any certain contact with us, I couldn't, even though he has written letters to newspapers that were relayed to the agencies involved. He hasn't done that with us yet. I would say this, as I stated before, he knows he has a problem, definitely. He's a mental person that is sick, and all I could do is offer him help. This is about the only thing that law enforcement has to offer him at this time. It's help.
School children make fine targets. I think I shall wipe out a school bus some morning, just shoot out the front tire, and then pick off the kiddies as they come bouncing out.
Now, what are you doing to protect the school buses, particularly in San Francisco, from that?
In San Francisco, we have been since the first day, since the reception of this note, and up to now and continuing, we have a number of plainclothes officers following buses in the morning and in the evening. We are learning more all the time, but I'll put it this way, there is no one suspect that we're focusing on at this time. This man is a psychopath with very, very seriously mentally deranged, He appears to have no conscience at all, no remorse after any of the acts, certainly no reason or even alleged justification for anything that he does. Several of the shootings have occurred without a single word to anybody, just merely to walk up and start shooting. This man is a serious problem to us. He's a very, very sick and very dangerous person. I personally haven't any great faith in that science, if that's what it is. We have made 2 or 3 inquiries of people in that business to gain information on what particular signs might mean. In fact, it was just a day or so ago that we learned that that little symbol of the circle with the cross in the center of it, what they told us is that this symbolizes the center of the universe, and this is called the sign of the Zodiac. Little things like that we can learn. We can learn if there is any significance as far as the Zodiac is concerned in the dates of these killings. It might be possible that this man follows some certain pattern in that direction. We don't know yet.
The bus patrol started first in this county Wednesday. Police units from various agencies using marked and unmarked cars follow buses on their runs to and from schools. Assisted by aerial patrols and some buses now equipped with two-way police radios, the massive patrols are responses to the Zodiac killer's threat to stop a bus and shoot children. The patrols are concentrated in the remote sections of the county, similar to areas where 5 were murdered. The Napa School District is the 3rd largest in the state in busing. Its 70 buses travel more than 4,000 miles a day. These patrols have been expanded to several counties, and the Highway Patrol has written guidelines for bus drivers.
We have specifically requested that they alert their drivers to not stop under any conditions if a shot is fired or if their bus is subjected to a flat tire by the sniper. Further, that they get the children down immediately and proceed with all speed out of the area. And to try and attract all the possible attention by blowing their horns, and therefore get out of the situation.
Is the Highway Patrol and other law enforcement agencies satisfied with these steps? In the event this happens, help can come in time?
We're satisfied that it is all that can reasonably be done under the circumstances that might be present at the particular time, giving due consideration to the vast number of buses operating.
Have any of the drivers expressed any concern over their job now?
Well, there's naturally talk. Everybody's, I guess, tense about it, but they all seem to be in good spirits and all seem to be going on with the job. I don't know of anybody that's quit.
You're not afraid?
No, I'm not.
No,
not
too afraid.
And now in the latest letter, the Zodiac says, if you cops think I'm going to take on a bus the way I stated I was, you deserve to have holes in your heads. To prove his authenticity, the Zodiac sent along this time, as he did before, a piece of the shirt belonging to the cab driver he murdered. Police don't doubt that the letter writer is the killer, though they don't believe he is responsible for the murder of 2 girls in San Jose, as he hints. At police headquarters today, officers said they will eventually catch him, and that they have clues they can't discuss publicly. Chief of Inspectors Martin Lee spoke with the press.
First of all, he is described in all the media as an insane person, a screwball, and all of this sort of thing. And I don't go along with this. I think, and I have studied all of the letters, I think that this man is legally sane. We all know the difference. Legal sanity, of course, being a knowledge of the difference between right and wrong, and also a knowledge that what one has done is forbidden and therefore taking the action of fleeing from the police. This man has certainly exhibited that much intelligence or rationality
The only thing to me, this came out since then, but he told me at that time that he had killed a guard getting out of a prison, and so I did take him as a killer. To me, a killer isn't a normal person, so I assumed at the time that something was wrong, but as far as a psychopath or any other aberration, I really didn't realize at the moment. I wasn't concerned because I was cooperating with him, and I expected that he would cooperate with me. And I tried to be as accommodating under the circumstances as possible to save the girl any harm. He told me that just to come up slowly, put up our hands, that he wanted our money. And I actually laughed at the moment because I told him, I says, I've only got 75 cents in my pocket. And I says, you're welcome to have it. But if you need help, I'm sure I can give you help otherwise. And I asked him what his problem was. And he mentioned that he was a convict trying to get to Mexico and needed money and transportation. And I offered him assistance. I told him what I was doing in school, and that if I could be of any assistance whatsoever, I offered him my phone number, anything like this, and this just isn't what he wanted. He said he wanted money, and I was really sorry. I said, you've got to check if I'd really like to help you, if you would be willing to accept help. He said, well, what I need right now is to get you tied up. And so he had the girl tie me, and of course she was real nervous and tied me rather loosely. And he came and he tightened the knots up, and then he tied her up. And we continued the dialogue along most of this time. And I happened to hear some rustling behind us, and I asked her to look because she was facing that direction. I was facing toward the water, and I asked her to note, what was going on, and she said, "Oh, there's a man walking around there." And she became concerned about it, and I said, "Well, actually, don't worry about it. There's a lot of people, picnickers, etc. And just if he kept coming, let me know." And she kind of kept watching. I noticed she wasn't following my conversation. And she told me he was stepping behind a tree, and the tree was about 30 feet behind us. And when he came out, she said he's got a mask on, and that was my first inkling that there was anything actually wrong going on. He came, I turned around, and we were both still sitting down.
Can you describe for us what your attacker looked like?
Well, when he was standing up, he kind of would shift onto one. He acted like a very nervous person. He was of medium to short height, kind of pouchy, real casually, I don't want to say sloppily, but real casually dressed, of course real dusty from the lake, and he had this black hood on, came clear down to here. Just little slits in the eyes, and where, these clip-on glasses, they were clipped into those little loops.
You remained conscious through the entire ordeal. How long was it until help finally came?
Well, as soon as he got us, of course, Cecelia and I prayed that, that whatever the Lord wished, that could be expedient, and that, we were, willing to do whatever he had in mind. But we also realized that half the battle was going to have to be ours, that we were going to have to help ourselves. And I was able to untie one of her hands, but she was too weak to untie me at that time. So I scooted into a position where I could be looking out across the lake, and after calling several times, I found one position that had a little more echo to it that I thought was a little louder. And I called, and several boats went by, but they didn't stop. I don't know if they thought we were joking or what, but finally one fisherman who was going real slow, he stopped. He shut off his motor, and we cajoled and called, and we did everything to try to get him to come. And he sat there for about 15 minutes, and he did finally come closer, but he wouldn't come to the shore. I guess he was afraid that the man might still be around. He said he'd go get help, but I assumed he was like, so many other things we read about. He just didn't want to get involved, and so I decided that we were going to have to do this on our own. So I encouraged her enough to get me untied, and I got one wrist loose so that I could get the rest untied. And then I untied her, and then she still was so weak that she couldn't move.
How were you finally found?
Well, she was found down on the blanket still. I made it up about 300 yards up almost to the road, and it was a slow process because I couldn't see, I kept blacking out, and my legs kept getting weak. But I was getting progress. I think I could have made it to the road. But a pickup truck was coming along with these dirt roads, and apparently this man had called for help. And he picked me up and took me back down to the girl.
Listeners to KGO Television's AM talk show heard a voice this morning purporting to be that of the Zodiac Killer. The man phoned the show after advising police last night that he would. and would want to talk with attorneys Melvin Belli or F. Lee Bailey. Belli showed up and listened, while a man, who said to call him Sam, asked, "What will they do with me? I don't want to go to the gas chamber." He complained of headaches and he groaned as if in pain. The attorney and show host Jim Dunbar made a date to meet the caller later in the morning at an undisclosed location.
I think a man that's sick, I think a man that's going into a storm, and it squares away with the pattern of the man, from what objectively we know that Zodiac did. But the thing that bothered... Oh, heavens, with the doctor, the people that have called in here that want to give him medical help, he's not going to go to trial until we know that this man is a human being in front of a judge. In other words, he's got to get his headaches cured. That this man, objectively, without even seeing him, I think any psychiatrist would say that this man is sick, sick, sick. I can say there'll be no capital punishment, but I can't speak for the district attorney. That's the reason I can't make any assurance until I go down and talk to Fern. And then he represents San Francisco more officially than I do, and it's up to him then to take it from there.
The caller's plea to avoid the gas chamber was taken up at the Hall of Justice with the district attorney, who said he could not make a deal.
Do you think it might be worth making a deal just to capture the man?
To capture the man, that would be up to the police officers and law enforcement. We would like to see the man who is the killer apprehended, but I have nothing as of now to inform this office or guarantee this office that they're bringing the man who committed these horrible crimes to our attention.
Belli, Dunbar, and the chief of inspectors went to meet the caller south of San Francisco. They waited 45 minutes with no contact, and the police came back with this report.
Nothing came of that. We went out to the location where the meet was to have been. Mr. Belli was out there, Mr. Dunbar was out there, and nobody appeared.
Can you tell us where that was?
That was in the, a little out of San Francisco, in the outer end of the Mission District.
Do you believe that really was the Zodiac who called that program this morning?
Not necessarily. I listened to the program. My opinion, for what it's worth, my opinion is that this is no hoaxer, no prankster. The man on that show, I sincerely believe, has a problem, has a mental problem, but he may or may not have been the so-called Zodiac person.
So no one knows yet if they had the Zodiac killer on the phone. They'll have witnesses listen to a tape of the broadcast to determine that. But it seems that a solution to the 5 Zodiac murders is just as far away as it was before. Spencer Michaels, KCRA News, San Francisco.